Hello, welcome to this video resource from the Connection Church, where you will experience a casual place with serious faith. We invite you to come check it out for yourself this Sunday morning. Visit our website, theconnectionchurch.org, for service times and locations. Now, get ready to hear another fun and practical message about how you can get connected to God and the people around you.
All right. You know, it started thousands of years ago with us actually talking to each other, but in 550 BC, they came up with the very first postal system. In 150 BC, people figured out how to send smoke signals, communicate via smoke signals. In 1150 AD, then somebody figured out how to send a carrier pigeon to send a message. In 1440, there was the invention of the printing press, the printed word, and mass communication became really available. And then in the 1800s, with technology, we got the telegraph and the telephone. How many of you, with your telephone, remember having the cord that was like the 50-foot cord, curly cord? It's attached to the wall. You were cool because you could take your phone and you could stretch it around your house. Right? You could talk anywhere in your house as long as you had that cord. It's crazy. And then they had the wireless, cordless phones. Wow. In 1969, Al Gore invented the internet for us. And then in 1996, we started instant messaging. And now the most widely used way that we communicate is via texting on our phones. We text. We can just send a message to anyone, anywhere. But as a result, we are worse communicators than ever before. Don't believe me? Just ask your kid, your teenager, to make a phone call on the phone. See what happens, right? And you know what? This is not just for you, for students. This is parents too. This is all of us. We communicate. We have communication challenges. There's disconnection that's happening with communication. Because when you text, you miss a big part of the message. It's been proven that 53% of our communication involves our facial expressions. And 38% is all about our voice inflection. And, some people, 7% is the actual words. And some people, they can read into kind of the most negative way into a text message, right? That's why we use the emojis, right? To try to bring some kind of expression, to what we're saying. And the fact is, if we're honest, since we're a little dysfunctional and a lot of our relationships are dysfunctional, the more dysfunctional the relationship is, the more we distance ourselves. We want to text to communicate. For some people, they're so dysfunctional, we're just like, we'll use smoke signals for this one. That'll be fine, right? And then you've got the challenge of the SMS language, the text language. I want to give you a little quiz on this, okay? So first, SMH. SMH, what? Smack my head, right? Shaking my head. How about LOL? Lots of love, right? No, laughing out loud. But how many of you, when you put LOL, you're really doing that? You're really laughing out loud? You're not doing that. WTPA. Anybody know WTPA? Where's the party at? At the Connection Church, right here. That's where the party's at. Okay? How about hand? Hand. Have a nice day. How about time? Time. Man, you guys aren't up on this. Okay? Tears in my eyes. Okay, so you're trying to decode and decipher this language, this text language, and then you got autocorrect, right? Which produces all kinds of crazy stuff. We won't go into that. But thankfully, God has sent us a text. He sent us his text message to help us with our communication. And that's what we want to do today. We want to help you communicate, be better communicators of what you're trying to say, because communication is the key to connection. It's the key to relationships. So today we're continuing this series called Meddling, about winning at relationships. Have you been watching the Olympics? It's been cool. We watched a lot of this last night, and man, some phenomenal athletes. But we want to be phenomenal with our communication. I want us to look at these two friends in the Old Testament. They were great communicators with each other. Their friendship was legendary. They were famous friends in the Old Testament, Jonathan and David. And they knew how to communicate with each other, even though they had some challenges and some problems in their relationship. The primary problem was Jonathan's dad, Saul, who was King Saul. He was ominously oppressed, and he was disturbed and depressed, and he was out to cause a lot of trouble for them. But instead of that trouble pushing David and Jonathan apart, it drew them closer together because they knew how to communicate. And so I want us to kind of pick up the story right after David heroically kills that mighty mammoth of a man, Goliath. He kills him, he goes over to him, and he cuts off his head, and still with head in hand, he goes to the king. He goes to King Saul. In 1 Samuel 18, we're looking at 1 Samuel 18 through 20, and he brings it to Saul because he wanted Saul to know that he was a guy who really knew how to get ahead, okay? So he brings it to Saul. They have this meeting, and they're talking. 1 Samuel 18, verse 1, after David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. They had this instant connection with each other, so much so that they made a covenant with one another. You know, David had already been anointed as the future king. Jonathan, who was the rightful heir to the throne, gave David his royal robe as a symbol of the fact that he was saying, you're going to be the king instead of me. And what was happening now is David's fame began to grow. In fact, his victories in battle went viral, so much so that he started getting 10 times as much praise and press as Saul. So much so that they actually had a song that they would sing about them, and they said, Saul has slain his thousands. That was, something like that. They were singing this, and Saul's like, yeah, I like that song. That's really great. And then they'd sang, but David, his 10,000s, like, whoa. And Saul got jealous. And Saul was like, no way, I don't need him around. He began to hate him. He tried to send him out in the front of the battle line so that David would be killed. And each time David comes back more victorious and stronger than ever before. So his fame just continued to grow. And then Saul's daughter, Michal, falls in love with David. David wants to marry Michal, and Saul says, well, that's fine. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to kill 100 Philistines. And so he's thinking, surely this is gonna, he's dead now. This is gonna kill him. But he comes back having killed 200 Philistines. And for the rest of their relationship, Saul is just obsessed with David's death. He's angry. He's mad. And so in chapter 19, Saul is completely consumed with David's death. Jonathan goes to David and says, hey, my dad, he wants to kill you, and you need to go into hiding, and I'm going to go talk to my dad for you and see if we can work this out. I'm going to calm him down. And so from that point on, David goes on the run. Jonathan goes to his dad, and he says, I don't understand. David's done nothing but try to serve you and help you. And he's got God's blessing and God's favor on his life, and he hasn't done anything wrong. Why would you want to kill him? Why would you want him dead? And that brings us to the first key of communication, and that is that we've got to speak encouraging words. And I'm talking about the words that we say to each other's face, but also the words we say behind each other's back. Jonathan knew how to encourage people to their face, but notice when he goes to his dad, he's saying the very same kinds of things to his dad about David. And he's saying the same kind of things. And I tell you, one of the keys is not only what do you say to someone's face, what do you say behind their back when you think they're not hearing? Or a great way to really affirm somebody and to encourage somebody is to talk good about them while they're present, while they're there in front of other people. That's like, you're not just saying it to them privately, you're saying it in front of other people. But guys, sometimes, when a group of guys gets together, it's natural to kind of start, maybe insulting or saying things about our wives. And people, you laugh along about that. And I tell you, if you're saying those things, then you're behind their back. I can tell you at home, you're not saying those praising words that you need to be saying. But this goes both ways, right? Ladies, you ever do that where you're getting together with other ladies and you start talking about that bum, lazy, no good for nothing husband, right? And listen, we need to be talking each other up. We need to be saying those good things about each other even when they're not around, and then make sure we're saying it to their face. And I'm not talking about making things up that aren't true. I'm talking about, there's a difference between flattery and praise, right? It's when you have those good thoughts, when you see the good, you need to speak up. You need to say it. When you think it and it's good, say it right then. Or even when they're not around and you think it, you can text it. You can text and encourage that way. We have really short attention spans. Sometimes, we tune people out. And especially if they're like lecturing us with what we're doing wrong, we tune them out really quick. But when we have a longer attention span, it's when somebody's encouraging us, somebody's building us up. I can listen to that all day long. In Ephesians 4:29, Paul, he wrote this. He said, don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. He says everything you say should be good, should be an encouragement. But let me talk about what he says about using foul language. It seems like profanity and cussing are more and more just kind of, hey, everybody does it, everybody's saying it, and we hear it in our music. Did you know that up until 2001, only 5 hit songs on the, in the top 10 Billboard had explicit language? Only 5. Since then, it's risen 833%, so that last year, the Hot 100 charts, 2/3 of those songs had explicit language in them. And some of us were like, well, I just want to listen to I listen to the clean version. I've listened to the clean version. It's like, you just. So you're like, I don't listen to the words. It's just a good beat. But let me tell you, the things that come in, that we hear, those things in media, and that our friends, all that people are saying, it does have an effect. It affects. Don't tell me it doesn't affect us. In fact, British scholar, his name is Geoffrey Bowers, he did a study, not a Christian as far as I know, in 2011. It was just a study for a university that measured the emotional responses of people and the words they said, whether it was cussing or the nicer, kinder, gentler word, like the difference between heck and hell. And they said that when you use the profanity, that their people's heart rates raised. They began to be stressed. They began to sweat it out a little more. And he said, this is a perfect example of how what you say or what you find too hurtful to say affects the way you think and you act. And words have meanings. Words have meanings, right? And it's not just the profanity, but he says don't use abusive language, because the words that we say can do damage, can do far more damage. We on the playground, kids sing, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But that's not true, because the words that some of us, you can recall right now some of the words that were said on the playground to you, and they've affected you. And the words that are said, sometimes they cut deeper and the scars last longer than the physical pain that we might have experienced. And so I've got to ask this question. I've got to say, is what I'm going to say, is it going to be helpful or is it going to be hurtful? Is it going to build someone up or is it going to tear someone down? And some of us, we say, well, I just got to tell it like it is. Well, you're not telling it like it is. You're just telling it like you see it. But some of us say, well, the truth hurts, baby. Well, yeah, it does hurt. You've got to think about, you got to have that internal filter and that check. Think about what you say before you say it. Proverbs 16:24 says, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. Those kind words bring health. They bring life. You're speaking life into somebody else. We need massive doses of encouragement in our families, and there's so much potential in our families. There's so much potential in this room, but I wonder how much of that potential gets unfulfilled because nobody is there to draw it out. Nobody's there to speak courage, to speak in courage into someone's life. We got to encourage one another. This should be a place of great encouragement. Our home should be a place of great encouragement. We need to be encouraging our kids, encouraging each other. Let's go back to our story in 1 Samuel 19, verse 6. Jonathan had talked to Saul. It says, So Saul listened to Jonathan and vowed, as surely as the Lord lives, David will not be killed. Well, he was right. David would not be killed, but not because he kept his word, because he didn't. But at that moment, there was a little bit of peace. The second key to communication is speak true. Speak true words. We got to be truth tellers. We got to let our words be true, not half true, not mostly true. We know how that is, where it's like, well, I'm saying something, but I'm leaving parts out. And hey, if they just think I'm saying something that I'm not saying, that's on them. It's not on me. No. Are you saying fully what you mean? Are you misleading? Ephesians 4:15 says, instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church. So we speak the truth. It's about the words that we say that are true, but it's also about how we say it. It's also about, are we speaking the truth in love and the spirit and the heart behind what we're saying? We got to ask ourselves, why? Why am I saying this? Is this because I got to get this off my chest? And this is going to make me feel so much better? Or is this going to make somebody else feel better? And if you're saying it for your benefit instead of theirs, you got to do that heart check. Well, things didn't stay too peaceful for long because Saul tries to kill David with his spear. And David gets away. But then in chapter 20, David comes up to Jonathan. He says, your dad is out to kill me. He's trying to kill me. And Jonathan, who can't see, he sees the good in people, which is a great quality to have. You see the good. He's defending his dad. And David says, no, in verse 3, I swear to you, I'm only a step away from death. So Jonathan said, okay, I believe you. What can I do to help? And so David says, well, tomorrow is this new moon, and I'm not going to go to this big party that your dad is throwing. Instead, I'm going to go hide out in the field. When your dad asks about me, tell him that I went to see my family, and if he accepts that, he says, great, then I'll know that he's come to his senses and he's chilled out a little bit. But if he doesn't, then warn me and tell me. And so Jonathan says, okay, I'll go do that. And what I'm going to do is, after I talk to my dad, I'm going to go out to this field with my bow and arrow and this kind of arrow boy that's going to go pick up my arrows. And if I shoot the arrow and it's a short shoot, then the boy, I'll say, come closer to get the arrow. If my dad is mad, then I'm going to shoot the arrow far, and I'm going to say, okay, you're going to have to go farther to get the arrow, and then you're going to know you're going to have to run away. You're going to have to leave. And so he goes to his dad, and he tells him, and of course, what do you think happens? Saul gets mad, says, bring him to me, and kill him. We're going to kill him. So Jonathan again says, no, you can't kill him. Well, Saul loses it at this point, takes his spear, throws it at his son, misses him. And in verse 34, it says, Jonathan left the table in fierce anger, refused to eat on the second day of the festival, for he was crushed by his father's shameful behavior toward David. Key to communication: speak kind and controlled words. We got to have control when it comes to our tongue. Notice that every time Saul would lose it, Saul would completely go ballistic, and he would lose it, and he attacks by throwing these spears, and Jonathan and David didn't retaliate. They didn't lash back. And sometimes people will throw those spears at you verbally, and we've got to have enough control of our words that we don't attack back. Colossians 4:6 says, let your conversation be gracious and attractive so that you'll have the right response for everyone, okay? Because if you shoot off at your mouth, it's going to be the best speech that you'll ever regret. There were these two snakes that were talking, and one of them said to the other, he said, wow, I hope I'm not poisonous. The other snake said, why do you say that? And he says, well, because I just bit my tongue. Sometimes those words that we say are venom. They're poisonous. And we're going to spit those out. It's better for us to bite our tongue, to bite your tongue, and don't say it. Because once you say it, you can't take it back. And you say, well, I didn't mean it. Yeah, but you said it. And so you've got to have that control. In verse 35, the story goes on. Jonathan shoots his arrows in the field. He tells the boy, you're going to have to go further. So David knew, I can't come home. I can't come back. And that's the next key to communication. Listen to what is really being said. We've got to hone in to the message behind what's happening. And listening is the most important key to communication. In Proverbs 1:5, it says, a wise person will listen and continue to learn. An understanding person will gain direction. So we've got to listen to understand. Not just listen to respond, but listen to understand. It's wise to keep your mouth shut and to listen and not just be thinking of, oh, I got this great comeback. I'm going to wait till they stop talking so I can get it out there. Or, you already have what you're trying to formulate, what you're going to say while they're talking, where you're not really listening. When you listen with your face. You listen with your eyes. Listen with your heart. Listen with your attention. You listen, focused listening. Verse 41 says, as soon as the boy was gone, David came out from where he had been hiding near the stone pile. Then David bowed 3 times to Jonathan with his face to the ground. Both of them were in tears as they embraced each other and said goodbye, especially David. Can you picture this scene? Can you picture this scene where these two grown, manly men are standing in the middle of the field and they're crying? It's not a typical sort of scene that you would picture two guys sharing their hearts like this, but this is the final key to communication, and that is you got to speak from your heart. Speak from your heart, and you speak authentically and transparently and honestly, and open yourself up. And you know, as guys especially, we like to put up the wall. We like to put up this facade of, hey, nothing gets to us, and you know, we're all tough and everything. But you know, a real man, it's okay to reveal how you're feeling. That's real friendship, when you can really cut beyond just the surface and get to the heart. And guys, you know, it's okay to say, I love you. Some of us, we had the model of a parent or of a dad who would never say those words. But we need to say those words to our families and to our kids. We need to say them a lot. We need to be strong enough to be able to admit that we were wrong. We need to be strong enough to admit that we need help, that we can't do it on our own. 1 Samuel in chapter 20, verse 42, the last verse of this chapter in this story, at last Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn loyalty to each other in the Lord's name. The Lord is the witness of a bond between us and our children forever." Then David left, and Jonathan returned to the town. This is how they related to each other. They were so committed to their friendship that they communicated no matter what they were facing. And no problem is as bad when you've got somebody who can stand with you, who is committed to you. But what I love about their relationship more than anything was that God was right there in the center of their relationship. They put God in the center, and it was their commitment to Him that kept them committed to each other. And as they grew closer to God, it allowed them to grow closer to each other. And that's what our relationships need to be about. That's what they need to be like. And if you sometimes you find yourself saying words that you didn't mean to say, maybe that's, you know, something that you find you do a lot. And you ever say that, where you say something, it comes out and you go, I don't know why I said that. Where did that come from? I don't know where that came from. I'll tell you where it came from. It came from your heart. It came from you. It came from inside of you. That's where your words come from. Jesus said in Matthew 12:34, He said, the mouth speaks the things that are in the heart. And so what we got to do is we got to do a heart check. We got to say, first, is Jesus at the center of my heart? Is He Lord of my words and Lord of my tongue? And if you find yourself saying hurtful words, saying words that aren't true, saying words that are cutting, then, and using words as weapons, then you might say, wow, I need Jesus to be the Lord of my heart. That's where it starts. It's not just here, but it's deeper than that. It's what's going on inside. Here's what you need to know today. God has communicated with you. God has sent you a text message. He sent you His Word, the Bible. He sent you a message so clear. When He wanted to communicate His most clear message that He could ever communicate, He used a cross. And He sent His Son, Jesus. And the Bible says that He demonstrated His incredible love for you in this, that Jesus died for you. Because He wanted you to know without question, without a shadow of a doubt, that He loves you, that He's crazy about you, that He wants you to know Him, that He wants you to be part of His forever family. That's His message to you. But it's not just about receiving the message, it's about replying. It's about responding to the message. You've got the text message. Have you responded? You got the email in your inbox. Have you replied? that's what we got to do. We got to respond to that message today. And we can do that with prayer. I want us to pray together. Heavenly Father, God, we thank you in this place today that you have so clearly communicated with us, God, that there is no doubt how much you love us. And God, I pray for us today that the words that we speak this week are going to be words that bring life into our relationships, into our homes, into our families, into our marriages. God, that we're going to speak words that are true, that we're going to speak words that are encouraging. We're going to speak words that bring life and that speak life into other people. God, thank you for giving us that strength and that power and ability, God, that our words can make such a difference to bring the best out of others, God. Help us to do that, to make a difference, to use words this week to invite someone, to tell someone about your incredible love and what Jesus can do in their life. God, we thank you for that. And God, I thank you that you communicated your love through the cross. That there are those in this room today who would say, I need Jesus. I want Jesus to be the Lord of my words and to be the Lord of my heart today in this place. This is your opportunity. This is your moment. You just pray a prayer like this. It's not the words that matter. It's what's going on in the heart. All right? That you would say, dear Jesus, I want you to be Lord of my heart, be the Lord of my life. I want to receive you today. I want to respond to you by offering you my life in exchange for your life. Give me your life. Make me part of your forever family. From now on, I want to follow after you by the power of your Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hello, and welcome to the Connection Church. We're so glad you're here with us today, and here are some ways that you can get connected. The Connection Church prayer team is hosting an informational training on tomorrow, February 19th at 6:30 p.m. at the Buda campus. This training is for anyone who wants to learn more about prayer and how you can make an impact. If you are interested in joining or already a part of the Connection Church prayer team, then you won't want to miss this meeting. Write prayer on your connection card for more information. Ladies, register today for our 2018 Chosen Women's Conference. This powerful 2-day event at the Connection Church this weekend, February 23rd and 24th, will bring women together to discover what God wants to do through you to make an impact in our generation. Get your ticket today for $75 at the booth in the lobby, or you can register at theconnectionchurch.org/chosen. Celebrate Recovery is a safe place to get real about your hurts, habits, and hangups and get real help. It all happens Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Visit the Celebrate Recovery booths in the lobby for more information, or you can email recovery@theconnectionchurch.org. If this is your first time with us, you are our VIP, so text the word WELCOME to 512-359-3400 and visit the red carpet to receive a free gift just for you.
We hope you enjoyed this video resource from the Connection Church, and we want to get connected with you. Visit theconnectionchurch.org for more information.